quick questions I want to be able to go to. Mr. Huja, I want to be able to ask about the personal vetting questionnaire. How is that different than the SF-86? I know there's been lots of conversation about we're narrowing it down, we're changing it. What's the real difference here?
Thank you for that question, Senator. This has really been a big part of how we're thinking about the reforms in the Trusted Workforce 2.0. So the personal vetting questionnaire, we have to revise it periodically. So this is one of the instances where it expires, so to speak. And so in this instance, within these reform measures, we wanted to streamline. We initially had 4 different questionnaires, depending on your risk level and how you were classified. And now we've combined it into one questionnaire, so into different subparts. And the benefit here is that depending on your risk level, you fill out just the portion that you need to. And then when you come back, if let's say you move into a higher risk level, you just have to fill the gap really and go on to the next part of it. We've simplified the questions. We've removed double-barreled questions. We've heard from applicants that oftentimes it's difficult to understand what you're asking of them, and then we want them to be truthful. So we wanted to ensure that there was clarity there. We put in longer segments of what we called preambles to understand this is why we're asking the question. So this has been an effort that we started in the last administration, underway. That was when the Trusted Workforce 2.0 was launched, and we're kind of come to fruition, and now we're in the second public comment period that's about to end. So we do look forward to that feedback to ensure this is really one big part of this effort is of the guidelines that we've set together with my colleague at ODNI is the experience that an applicant goes through to ensure that not only it is a fluid experience, but that we can actually onboard them in a more efficient manner.
Okay, so let me ask a reciprocity question with this. Ms. Dixon, you were talking before about some of the time period they have to do additional work on it. If they've just gone through the process, they got a secret clearance, it's 25 days. Congratulations on that. That's a big change. They've done that. Now they want to be able to switch over. Now they've got additional items they've got to be able to do. Are they starting all over, or is it a faster process now because they've already been through the first tier?
We should be able to build on the process that's already happened with
Should be or do?
Will.
Okay, deal. So your estimate at that point was you were hoping to be around 75 days or less in the process?
To get to just the top secret, not within the national security population.
Correct. Okay, and so if they've gone through this 25 days or 45 days for the clearance, they switch over to you, it should be another 20 days? Or it should, again, I'm not going to hold you to this. I'm trying to get a feel of what this looks like.
No, I appreciate the question. We've actually been looking at the entire timeline, so I don't actually have a goal for the exact apples-to-apples comparison. At this point in time, I think if you look at what we are on average, it's about 120 days. We're trying to get that lower for that particular part.
Okay, that'd be very helpful. There's been a lot of conversation about the social media aspect as well. Is that reliable? Is that not reliable? Should we look at it? Should we not look at it? Let me just say from my perspective, you should look at it. I mean, to say it's not reliable would be to say there's nothing we could really gain there. Clearly, there's information that we can gain, trends information, at least questions to be able to follow up with people and say, hey, we saw this association, or we saw this connection, or we saw this post at this point. That's not an unreasonable thing. So if there's some dispute to wonder whether, we're going to say to you, you shouldn't look at that. No, I think you should. That's a pretty reasonable thing. The question is how you use it. So what is the plan at this point for how you're using social media, and are you?
So as you pointed out, we are allowed to use it. We have the authority to use it. Right now, we're in exploratory phase, trying to figure out what utility is, what can we get out of it based on the amount of information that is coming through. So there have been several pilots that have been going on, and those will influence, and those will help us understand how we're actually going to be using it in the future.
Okay. Other comments from anybody on that? Ms. Moultrie, you were nodding your head on that as well.
No, Director Dixon covered that the way I would have covered it.
Okay, let me ask one final question there. It's about the polygraph, because there's been some agencies use it, some do not. There's been some conversation about ocular scanning instead, or a different resource, or in addition to. Are there other conversations about either how to use polygraph, where to use it, other tools that may be out there that may be a better tool? What is the trend at this point to try to figure out what to be able to do with that?
So I will have to take I'll take for record, I am not actually aware that they're thinking about new technologies to be using for it, but right now we plan to continue using it within the intelligence community itself.
Okay, Mr. Moultrie.
Yeah, our National Center for Credibility Assessment uses the polygraph. It is the tool, the gold standard that we have right now. We have had a discussion within the Department of Defense as to whether or not new technologies might be augmentative to polygraphs. Is there something out there that would allow us to monitor some of the same things that a polygraph monitors? But those are in the very early stages of discussion. But we believe that looking at technology and being able to enhance any process is the way that we ought to go.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In closed sessions, the chair